Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and this is the February 2014 PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting. And yes, Leanne, I am recording. See, I sometimes forget to turn on the recording, and Leanne, it's her job to make sure I am. Yes, Leanne, I am recording. We'll be all right. Every once in a while.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome. Every once in a while when I forget, that means me and Mary Jo get to do a whole new virtual user group meeting with nobody there just so we can record it. But that's not going to happen this time because we are ready to go and we are prepared. And today we are talking about alarms. That's me, yay. And specifically alarms in version 17.1. It's been totally redesigned. It is a dream to work with, and I should know I am the king of alarms. And Mary Jo's going to talk about some of the new integration functionality within PracticeMaster in version 17.1. But before we get off on that track, we're going to talk a little bit about some housekeeping issues, mainly how to ask questions. This is your GoToWebinar control panel. You have something probably on your screen that looks a little like this. If you don't have it on your screen, it's because you already know that this button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right will cause this big window to slide out of the way so you can see what's behind it. When that big window does slide out of the way, all you can see then are these icons. And this one that looks like arrows pointing to the right now will change into one that looks like arrows pointing to the left, meaning that if you were to click it again, this window would slide back into view so that you could type a question if you are shy. If you're shy and you want to ask a question and you don't feel like being on mic, then you can type a question here. Don't forget to hit send, and Leanne, our humble moderator, will interrupt Mary Jo or myself at the appropriate time and ask your question on your behalf. If you have follow-up questions, keep typing them. If you have follow-up questions, you just keep typing them here. Don't forget to hit send, and Leanne will continue to ask your questions on your behalf until you've gotten it fully answered. Don't be shy, even if you're shy. If you're not shy, you can press this button that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it, which of course means raise your hand. If you do that, Leanne, our humble moderator, will still interrupt Mary Jo or myself at the appropriate time, but instead of reading your question, she's just going to unmute you and let you ask your own question. So again, you will stay unmuted until your question is done being answered. So first off, don't talk to your secretary. Second off, if you have follow-up questions, just interrupt us and ask them. Okay? So without any further ado, I'm going to press this button and log into PracticeMaster as Ron. Of course, I'm not Ron, but we won't go there. And here I am. It tells me I've got some sample data that I'm using because this is the sample data system. And in a minute or two, well, I guess it's already done it actually. There we go. It pops up my alarms. This is the new PracticeMaster alarm notification window for version 17.1. Now, what we have here is an appointment, and an appointment. So in a minute, we're going to add a task. In fact, I'm going to go in and do that right now. I'm going to add a new task. I'm going to go into my daily calendar, and I'm going to right-click down here and add a new task for today. And by the way, the system thinks today is 11/17/2014. It's a little bit out of itself. Tell Mary Jo that she is awesome. I'm such a good motivator, aren't I? And it's 2:05, so we're going to set this to go off at 2:06. We are going to set an alarm. Now, here's one of the first new things to know about new alarms. In version 16.2 and earlier, you had to do your alarm time in minutes. Now, and there used to be a box that said alarm yes or no, and then if you said yes, the other box would show up that let you specify how many minutes before. Now you have things that match up with the same sorts of selections you get in Outlook. Okay? Very important because these are matching up with Outlook and they make sense. Now here's something even better. If I put in 90 minutes, or if I put in 1.5 hours, it figures out for me what I mean. So I can pretty much type in natural language exactly what I want, and it figures out how to express that. I don't have to figure out anymore that 1440 minutes is a day and 2880 minutes is 2 days. I don't have to figure out exactly how many minutes it would be from 5:30 a.m. until an appointment that I have at 11 a.m. if I want a reminder to pop at 5:30. I just say 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. It's 5.5 hours, and I just put 5.5 hours, and it takes care of the rest for me. That's very cool. Now let's go ahead and put this in. I'm going to put in 0, which means 0 minutes. I want this alarm to pop at 2:08. We're going to change it 2:08 because I want it to pop after 2:07. I'm going to save it. And it's got to be for me, Ron. That's what I'm logged in as. Okay. And that's just a notice about workflows. So let's go back to this window here. Another thing about this alarm notification window is that it now becomes an extension of the program group down here that's tied to the PracticeMaster icon. It used to be an extension of the program group, but it used to be that if you had 7 alarms, you had 7 windows. Mary Jo, you are awesome. I have just told Mary Jo that she is awesome. I hit complete with that item highlighted. Bam. These 3 appointments that I have, I want to be reminded a minute from now. Snooze for 1 minute. I've blocked them all. Bam. There it goes. Now, I am one of those people that uses alarms a lot, and so much that this is the backstory. When version 16 came out, I was the only person that noticed that if you had more than 50 alarms pop at the same time, that you could crash PracticeMaster. And I must be the only person that noticed that because I reported it to them and they didn't fix it. Instead, what they did is they waited for this new version to come out with version 17.1. But prior to version 17.1, if I had 51 alarms, I ended up with 51 different windows spread across my screen, and I had to snooze each one of them individually or decide what I was going to do with each one individually. With this, I can mark a whole group of them and snooze them for a minute and be done with it. Or I could control-click and choose 3 out of the 7 and snooze those for 5 minutes, choose the other 2 out of the remaining 4, snooze those for an hour, choose the remaining 2, and snooze those for 4 hours. So very much easier for you to manage your alarms. Another thing that I couldn't do very effectively before was simply reduce my alarms. When they pop back up in a minute, I'll show you that I can simply reduce them. They're still there, and they will still pop up again if I get a new alarm. But the 3 that are waiting there for me will just sit down there waiting for me to bring them back up into focus. Another thing that's really cool that I'll explain, and then I'll show it to you when I get my alarm back up, we now have the ability with events to snooze 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, and 1 minute before. And if you say, I want to be reminded again 10 minutes before the appointment, it will pop up at 10 minutes before the appointment, and the snooze will be defaulting at that point to 5 minutes before. So if I say I want to snooze this for, these are all overdue. Okay, let me put in an appointment that has, today has a date, and it thinks today's the 17th. So I'm going to put 4 o'clock. We are going to meet with Bob. I'm going to tell it I want to be reminded, let's say half a day before 4 o'clock, so it's already, should be reminding me. And I'm going to put this on user Ron. Keep forgetting to do that. And now it pops up and says meet with Bob, and now I can say that I want to snooze to 10 minutes before. When I snooze this, it will then pop up at 10 minutes before 4, and then it will be defaulting at that point to 5 minutes before. When I snooze that, simply by hitting the button, the next time it pops up, it'll be defaulting to 1 minute before, and then it'll be defaulting to 1 minute. So I can kind of glide right into a meeting without having to do a lot of thinking. It just keeps reminding me 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, and then it's time to meet with the person. A lot more effective than having to look at the alarm and figure out what my next choice should be. The other things that you can do in here, I can open an item directly, so I could double click on Meet with Bob and go and say, that got moved. That got moved to 3:30. and now it's going to come up with the alarm again because it still should be reminding me of that. I can click on an item and clear the alarm. I can control click, or I can shift click. Control click, of course, will mark items that are not in sequence with leaving the interim item unchecked. Shift click will mark the items in between and the item that you're clicking on. So I can take these two and say I want to snooze for 30 minutes, and I can take this one and say that it is, I don't want to have an alarm at all. And I can take this one and say that I want to snooze it for 8 hours. Am I missing anything, Mary Jo? The new button. Let's go back in here and set this to remind me 4 hours before. Oops. You do have to, I think, put the space in, or else it's not going to know what you're talking about. This one. Oh, this. Thank you. I don't use these, but this is for quick alarm. Back when Spencer, my son, used to ride the bus, I had to make sure that he was out of bed at the right time, but I didn't want to put a task in my PracticeMaster task list. I just wanted to know that at 7:30 a.m. I need to wake the boy. And that's a quick alarm, and that's what that new button means. It will show up in my alarm window. It'll pop up at the time that I have determined, but it won't show up in my task list. That's called a quick alarm. Now, if you've ever closed PracticeMaster and it's told you that your quick alarms will not be popping, that's what it's talking about. Nobody ever really understood that, so be careful of that. And that brings me to one last thing. This, by the way, if I were to double-click on this item, it's the same as clicking this, which means go to the record. So I can either double-click it or I can go to the record. And the one last thing to show you is that when you exit, it still asks, you have PracticeMaster alarm set to expire today. Do you want to exit without viewing your alarms? If you say yes, it will take you out. If you say no, it will leave you right here looking at all your alarms for the day. That is the new alarm functionality within version 17.1. I think it's wonderful. By the way, if you're synchronizing with Outlook, the synchronization now between the alarms is instantaneous, and it is syncing the alarms. It didn't used to sync the alarms. It used to sync the event, and then Outlook would remind you, and PracticeMaster would remind you, and you would have to clear the alarm in both things. Now, if I am syncing with Outlook, which I'm not with my sample data, sorry, you can't see it, but in my real system, when I get these alarms popping up, I also get a corresponding Outlook. And the reason I have that is because I'm reaching for my smartphone, like you can see me doing that. Of course you can't, because I want those alarms to pass through to my smartphone, to my iPhone. So when I snooze an alarm in PracticeMaster, it instantly drops that alarm from the Outlook, which is very cool. It didn't used to do that. You used to be able to synchronize events and tasks with Outlook, but the actual alarm notification would not synchronize, and now it does. Are there any questions, Leanne?
No, Paul, there's no questions.
There's no questions. So we're going to turn now to Mary Jo, and she is going to tell you all about the new integration options within PracticeMaster.
Okay, we kind of covered these integration options in a quick overview when we were talking about the what's new in version 17. But I want to take you a little bit further into that. So I am going to get out of the calendar here. Yeah, as soon as I get some control here. That's okay. But I'm awesome, so, you know, I think I'm allowed now.
Okay, wiggle your mouse. There you go.
All right. So we are going to go out to the Integration tab and Toolbar Plugins. I'm going to start with that. There are some new Toolbar Plugins in version 17. Before we had Outlook, we had Internet Explorer, Word, Excel, Adobe, and WordPerfect, and we had Hot Docs. Now if you go into the integration, they have added PowerPoint. So you need to actually turn this on, and you can automatically save it to PracticeMaster when you're saving the document. So you would install the PowerPoint plugin, and again, you're going to have those options that you have, you know, the PM Save, PM Fee, those options are still going to be over there, PM Calendar. And Worldox. Now, if you don't have Worldox, obviously this isn't going to apply, and Paul and I are going to go into more detail in our Worldox virtual user group meeting and talk a little more about that. But when you install the Worldox plugin, it actually puts a PracticeMaster I guess it's an icon up on the toolbar, just like in all the other programs, that you can click on, and it will give you options again to do some things in PracticeMaster, and it also will open Matter Manager in PracticeMaster. So it'll take you right over there from Worldox. So that's a pretty neat one in Worldox, and we'll go into more detail on the Worldox one as well. The Windows Explorer, this is a really cool addition. If you install the Windows Explorer toolbar, and I just navigate out to anywhere out, I can go to my computer, I'm just going to go out to a directory and just find a document. So if you get, whether it's on your desktop, you save a document out there, or you save a document in a certain file, maybe you have a client folder out on the network and you want to put that over into PracticeMaster, you can just navigate out to any one of these folders that you have documents in, and let me just go into Documents and pick something, and I'm just going to pick this email error document here, this Word document. It could be a Word, a PowerPoint, a PDF, anything, any kind of a document, and if I right-click on it, there is now a Send to PracticeMaster. So it's right there on the window that opens. I can click Send to PracticeMaster, and it will ask me to go ahead and create a doc management record for that particular document. So that's huge. I mean, you can just go out to anything on Windows and just immediately just send it and save it into PracticeMaster. You can select a record. You can add a document as a new version. There's all kinds of things in document management that are new, but this is one way that you can save a document very quickly. The other thing that I want to talk about is the new Outlook toolbar. Now, we still have the Install the Outlook plugin, and that hasn't changed on that main screen. You still have your options to PM Feed, PM Calendar, PM Journal. You can link it. You can do all those different things. So that part is still the same, but what they've added is a way, and Paul, I'm going to open your email, and hopefully you don't have, do we have access? Okay. I don't know what's in Paul's email, so hopefully it's okay. But we had the option in any one of these folders to add this little J, C, and F column in here, and you had the PracticeMaster toolbar on the ribbon, which is still there, and we had the little journal, calendar feed, the linking on and off, and just real quick, the linking on and off, that does, sometimes people think if they have that linked that it's doing something else. It's linking emails, it's linking to PracticeMaster, it's doing something. They don't always know what that is. It's popping things that it shouldn't or whatever, but that's not what linking on and off does. What linking on and off does is if you've journaled an email already and then you come back into it and you hit journal again, if you've already journaled the email and linking is on, it will just take you right to that PracticeMaster record. If you have linking off and you go to journal the email, it will ask you for a profile again to journal it to a certain client. Reasons why you would have it off, maybe you have an email that you have to journal under 2 different matters, and you want it under Matter 1 and Matter 2. I would turn linking off, journal it to the 2 emails, or to the 2 matters, and then turn linking back on, because it's just a prevention of, you don't want to have to journal emails more than once. So that's all linking on and off does. The journal, obviously, it's going to open and journal the email. Calendar is going to create a calendar record, and Fee is going to bill for that email. After you've done that, if you've added these 3 little columns, it will put a little J or a C or an F in front of each of the emails, so you can tell at the end of the day, oh, I've already journaled this email. I've already billed for this email, which is very helpful. But to get those little J, C, and F columns on there was kind of a little tricky. You had to go into View, change your view, add columns. You had to journal an email first. You had to do it for each of the folders that you wanted it in, and it was kind of a pain. And then the other problem that people were having is when they created a new email and they wanted to journal this email, they would go into PracticeMaster Ribbon and they would turn this PM journal on. They would journal the email, and then all the rest of the day or week or whatever, every time they would send an email, it would open up PracticeMaster and ask them to journal the email. And they couldn't figure out how that got turned on. Well, somebody had clicked on this PM journal on, and it stayed on. So now, with the new toolbar, what we do is we go into Outlook, and in version 2007 and later, you can go underneath the File option, go under Options, go to Add-ins, and up here at the top, it's got Launch Add-in Options dialog. And what PracticeMaster has done is add this little button that has all of your default settings on one screen. So if I don't want to have PracticeMaster pop every single time I send an email, I can just have it be disabled, and that will be my default setting. And then if I go to send an email and I do want to journal that particular one, I can just go ahead and click on it, and it will journal that email, but then it will revert back to my disabled setting that I set here. Same thing for calendar and fee. If I want it always enabled, maybe I do want it to always pop and ask me if I want to save it into PracticeMaster, and then I can decline. I can cancel it if I don't want to. But if I want that setting to always be automatic, I can click Enable on all of these things. Sometimes I have clients that want to have it always bill. Every time they send an email, they want it to pop up and create a fee entry. They want to bill for it right then and there and get it out of the way. So they have that fee enabled all the time. If they don't want to bill for that particular one, they just hit Cancel. And then the third option that you can have is the last used. Now the last used, if you had it turned on, it's going to remember to keep it on until you turn it off. And then if you turn it off, it's going to remember it's off until you turn it on again. So that's kind of what it does right now before you change any of these settings. The other option is the linking on. You can always have it enabled. If you don't want to have the linking on for a particular email, you can turn it off, but then it's going to revert back to the enabled setting when you're done. Again, you can disable it if you don't want it to be the default, and you can just use the last used if you want to. We also have some other new journaling options here. You can move received items to a different folder after you've journaled it. So let's say that I journal this Groupon email, and after I've journaled it, I don't want it in my inbox anymore. I want to move it to deleted items. I've journaled it in PracticeMaster. It's already saved. I just want it out of my inbox, and I want it deleted. I can actually specify that folder for my deleted item, and it will go move that email to the deleted folder. Now, you might not want it to be deleted. Maybe you have another folder that you set up in here, or multiple folders that you want to have. You may have multiple folders, but you have to tell it where you want all of them to go. So that came out wrong. But if you have several folders over here and you want the emails to go into a certain folder, you can tell that right here and set that setting. So you might have a journaled email folder, and you would hit Select Folder, click that folder, and anytime you've journaled an email, it will then move it over there. Same thing with sent items. So one is for received, one is for sent. You can specify those over on this section. And here's my little column indicators that we talked about. So now if you want to get that little J, C, and F up here on your columns in your either inbox or your sent or your deleted or any of those, you can actually click here to select the folder. Makes it very easy to install them. And I'm clicking, but there it goes. So I would just go under Paul's because I'm in him, and I would go ahead and click on my inbox and say I want to add those J, C, and F to my inbox. Say OK, and then they would appear up here at the top. I could then click on my sent items and say OK, and it would go in and it would install the J, C, and F on the sent items. So that's how you can get it. One caveat, I guess, that I would recommend, when you have the J, C, and F here, if you have certain views on here, it may bump over all of your subject line, your receive line, and things, and you might see a weird view. I would recommend that you have your preview pane either over all the way to the right or have it down below. Otherwise, you don't have enough real estate here for those to show up. So I think
if I can take control for a second.
Go ahead.
If we go into sent items and move my pane over enough, you'll see that.
Yeah, see how it kind of, I just lost my subject line and all of that. So
but
be
if you
careful.
do have it on the right, you can either give it enough room that it works, or you can move your preview pane down below.
Yeah.
Which is done I think by right-clicking or by going into the customization option.
Yeah, if you go under View, you can customize your current view or your change view or any of those things to move it, or you can, like Paul did, just drag it over so you've got enough real estate here to show all these things, because we don't want to push this out and you don't see your subject line or who it's to, and I've had that happen with some clients. I can't see it anymore, what happened. And so just be aware, some of the settings that you have for your preview pane can adjust this and make it harder to see. So if that happens, it's very easy to fix. It's just one of those things you have to change the view. So that's the new Outlook integration. Any questions? Nope, there's no questions. Okay.
We must be explaining things right. Next month, our PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting topics will be the new document management functionality within version 17.1, and also the new Worldox integration. We are actually going to talk about that in the PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting as well. And in case you're interested, in our Tabs 3 virtual user group meeting next month, it's actually more of a general ledger session this month. We'll be talking about the new not closing the month or year functionality within the general ledger, and also the new chart of accounts functionality within general ledger. So be sure to sign up for those if those are topics that interest you. By the way, some people know this, some people don't. If you go to our website, and scroll down here, you have the ability to look at recordings for all 3 virtual user group meetings, plus our Coffee Pot webinars, Mary Jo's eBite video series, and the ever-popular Paul and Mary Jo show. So if you wanted to see a prior month's topic or recording for the PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting, you just go there, scroll down, and look through these, and you'll find every one that we've ever recorded. We realized today when we were doing this that I think they go back as far as 5 years. So good thing to know. If anybody has any questions, my email address will appear at the end of this video. You're always welcome to email Mary Jo or myself directly. And have a good rest of the day, a good rest of the week, good rest of the month, and we'll see you in a month. Thanks much. Bye-bye, everybody.